One of the uses of reverse lookup is switching display language in your app. Once you select your language, it will return a language code. In this case, it will be Eng, Jap, or Chinese. The language code can then be used to index the display language. That's why we need to know the row index. Let me open up the Jupyter Notebook. The notebooks look the same. Here, the first cell I run it, Shift-Enter. Here we read data source from the language table, which is loading from this CSV file. Reference to reference, code to code, English, Japanese, Chinese, and so on. They all come from here. Here you see pandas. This one, .read CSV, from this file location that I define in this line of code. All these are being embedded in a variable lang language. This is just for demonstration. Even if I remove this line, the script still works. In the language table, let's say I want to look up the string Nihongo and return the row index, which is 1. Here we rename our lookup text Nihongo. We need to identify, let's comment out all these. Back to the language table. If I equal the lookup text above, Shift-Enter, then you'll see in between the column Jap and the row 1, the intersected cell will show true, because the lookup text Nihongo only appears once where you see in the intersected cell Japanese and 1. That's why here is true and the rest is false. Here we need to find out which column contains the value true, which we expect the Jap column will be the answer. So .any Shift-Enter, then right beside the Jap will show true. It refers to this Jap column. These are all columns. Reference, code, English, Japanese, Chinese. Which one is true? It's the Jap column. One more thing, how can we return the value Jap? This line shouldn't work. Take it out. Or gone. In order to return the target column index, which is the Japanese column, let me rearrange it a little bit, the original code that I upload. Otherwise, you can't run. That's why you need to watch the whole video, because sometimes things get changed in between that you don't know. This is the lookup column. Here, we only need to return the index, which is itself lookup code. It will then return the Jap column, Shift-Enter. Then it shows Japanese true. We then add .index, Shift-Enter. Then it will show the index object. .any, then you'll see the Jap value here. Once we get the target column, here and here. Okay, then go back to the language table like this. Language, Shift-Enter. We go to the Japanese column. So we add a square bracket and put in a column name, which is Jap. Remember, it has to be a string, JAP. Then it will be like this. But we shouldn't type the column name right. Where the Jap column can be automatically returned is coming from here. This very long code. So I name it code. Put it in the column area and it will be like this. If you notice, this looks exactly the same as the column in the original language table. You might treat it as two different tables. This one is sliced from this column from the original table. It's just like highlighting this column. Within this column, we need to look up Nihongo, which should return row index 1. Now you see the lookup text here. It should return row index 1. Now this column, let me name it target column. We are working on this part and I just changed the code a bit. My target column, which is the Jap column we've seen, it refers to language bracket called target column and it shows like the above. We then get the target row based on the target column. Just name it target row is equal to target column dot EQ. Here you can put in an argument that returns a bunch of true and false, which is like what we did at the very beginning, that we spot the location of the lookup text. Here the true false will be the lookup text, which is this string, Nihongo, lookup text, shift enter, oops, doesn't work, oh I see, get rid of the underscore. Let me show you what it is. Target row, here you see a bunch of true and false. Target row again, it should only return the true now. Shift enter, you see the true here. Here we simply dot index and it shows the whole index object. We only need to square bracket 0 to fetch the only item. And we should get the value 1, this one. Let me wrap things up. The very first step is to find out the target column. Within the target column, use the dot equal method to search the lookup text. Then, put in an argument in the square bracket to force the single row with a bunch of true and false. Finally, square bracket 0 to return the only item, and it will return the target row index. That's it for today. Ciao.